Next up is Nick Mansour, who is a state treasurer candidate. Nick attended Salpointe Catholic High School here in Tucson, followed by all the other interesting experiences detailed on this slide. Stanford MBA, entrepreneur, broad real life experience. Most recently, prior to his candidacy, Nick served as chairman and CEO of the Arizona College of Nursing, transforming that institution from a single campus into a national leader with 24 campuses across 14 states. So he's got some pretty heavy duty experience under his belt. So thank you, Nick, for being here. You have 15 minutes followed by some Q&A. The floor is yours.
Great, great. Thank you, Maggie, for having me here. Thank you all for having me back. I was here with you in the fall, and it's great to be back. And as you might have guessed from where I went to high school, I grew up in Tucson. I grew up in LD18. I grew up kind of near River and Craycroft, River and Cloud Road, or Cloud Road and sorry, did I say River and Craycroft? River and Sabino Canyon. Cloud Road in Sabino Canyon would be even a little more precise. So. It's great to be here, and and today is a twofer for me and Brian. We saw each other earlier today as well. Brian's a phenomenal candidate. We are lucky to have him as a candidate. It's an obvious choice for the state mine inspector, and I am here to support Brian as much as I can. I am going to start with a little story that you guys might have heard from me if you've heard me speak before. When I was 40, I was diagnosed with a tumor. It's about the size of a golf ball. It's right in between my ears. And, you know, lots of people have health care scares like this, and it can have a profound impact. For me, it's literally one of the best things that ever happened to me. Our kids were age 10 and under. We have four kids. They were all 10 and under. And I got a chance to evaluate my life. And helping people is important to me. And I came to the realization that at age 40, I had not done enough of that. And I don't want to get to age 80 and feel the same way. And, Maggie told you a little bit about my experience at Arizona College. As nice as the growth was, even more meaningful as we helped thousands of people become a nurse. My dad
Mhm.
is a doctor. He practiced near St. Joe's Hospital and had a lot of patients at TMC as well. My mom was a nurse in the Tucson area for many, many years. So I know nursing at a very personal level, and it can transform your life. And through the nurses, we helped improve the healthcare of Arizona and many other states around the country. But I've decided to run for the treasurer's office because I want to make Arizona the best place to work, live, and to raise a family. And as treasurer, I really have three priorities. The first is we've got to improve our education in our state. I know the power of education firsthand. I had many, many wonderful teachers and many wonderful schools. I wouldn't be here without them. But I've also seen it at Arizona College. Our graduates, in addition to having a very meaningful career, they make 2.5 to 3 times more the day they start as a nurse than the day they started at our school. And that can have just a huge impact on them and their families. And that's true of lots of education, and it doesn't have to be college. It includes vocational education as well. And I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir. We need to do more to improve our education in this state. And while money isn't the only solution here, I do believe it's a part of the problem. We rank 47th or 48th or 49th, depending on the year. We also invest 47th, 48th, or 49th, depending on the year. And the treasurer can have an impact on how much we invest in education, actually without raising taxes. The main way I like to talk about is we have an endowment fund that is mostly for the benefit of public education, and most of that goes to K through 12 education. And that fund is now a $10 billion fund, or nearly a $10 billion fund. There are actually 10 other states that have a fund like this. Every single one of them, invest it differently than we do. And if we just did what those other states do over the last 12 years, our fund would now be a $13 billion fund. So we've lost out on $3 billion. And if we don't change the way we're investing these funds, we will lose another $3 billion in the next 10 years. So We've got to address the investment policy for this fund. We haven't changed it in 28 years. We're well overdue to change how we're investing these funds, and it is just such a powerful tool for us to invest more in education. So that's my first priority. My second priority is I do want to use my background and the treasurer's office to attract good companies and good jobs to our state. I built companies at Arizona College. We created over 1,000 jobs. The treasurer's office should be a part of attracting and retaining good companies to our state, and I want to help do that. So that's the second priority. The third is also, the third is to eliminate waste. And I could give you a couple of examples, but the one you've probably heard the most about recently has to do with the voucher program and our reimbursing people for homeschooled kids. We will reimburse families up to $7,000 a year for educational costs, but there's a giant loophole. And today, your taxpayer dollars and my taxpayer dollars have reimbursed people for things like trips to SeaWorld, trampoline park memberships, jewelry, kitchen appliances. We reimbursed $1 million worth of Legos last year. We reimbursed $1 million worth of trampoline park memberships. Somebody was reimbursed for lingerie. You literally cannot make this up. And this has been reported on I've been talking about this for at least 8 months at this point, maybe longer. And our treasurer can do more to stop this, and she should be doing more to stop this. And I'll make it my priority to stop this from day one. So those are my three priorities. There is a fourth reason I'm running. And just like Brian, I'm not a politician. I've never run for elected office before. I'm running to end how extreme our politics have gotten. We need to elect people who are going to bring our communities together and going to really focus on the big issues and make sure that we are coming up with solutions for them and get away from some of these extreme issues. So those are the reasons I'm running. That last one actually flows very directly into talking about the race a little bit. There are two Republicans in this race. The likely winner is named Elijah Norton. Those who are familiar with Phoenix politics may remember him from a congressional election 4 years ago. So there's 2 points I want you to remember about Elijah. Number one is he is a very extreme candidate. I want to end extreme politics. He's going to help further those. He lost to David Schweikert 4 years ago. He ran to the right of David Schweikert. That may not mean much to Tucsonans, but when you explain that to anybody living in Paradise Valley or Scottsdale or Phoenix, I often get the reaction of, I didn't realize it was possible to be further right than David Schweikert. He will inject MAGA policies into how we're managing our money, which we should not be doing. So that's number one. Point number two, he is going to tout his business record. And his business record is um, checkered at best. His companies sell car warranties for used cars. Um, his companies are littered with customer complaints, lots of litigation with customers, complaints about robocalling, and one of his three companies in the past went bankrupt. So he's not somebody we want to manage our money. Now, I am very, very confident in our campaign. I've been to 15 or 12 of the 15 counties. The reasons I'm running and improving our education, eliminating waste, growing our economy, and frankly, getting rid of extremism really resonate with people. We've got a lot of endorsements. I have over 95 business leaders from around the state who've endorsed our campaign. I have unions supporting us. The Arizona Bankers Association is supporting our campaign. I have many elected officials, including many down in Tucson, who've endorsed my campaign. We've raised over $1 million for this campaign. That's 3 times more than the last Democratic candidate for treasurer raised during his entire race. And so I feel very, very confident about this race. Having said that, of course, This is Arizona. It's going to be close. I need your help. We need, we know as Democrats that we really need Pima County to turn out and show up for us. If you are willing to take a yard sign, that would be great. If you can donate your time and money, of course, we need that. But last and not least, and I do think this is true for myself and for Brian and for Terry Ruiz running for the superintendent of public instruction, we need you to get the word out that it's important to vote all the way down the ballot. We've got some great candidates for governor, of course, and attorney general and secretary of state. We need to get people to vote all the way down the ballot. And hopefully, I've convinced you a little bit about the importance of the treasurer's office and the impact that we can have on our education, on our economy. And I know Brian's done the same for the inspector of mines. So, with your help, we can win these. And when we do win these, we'll make Arizona the best place to live, work, and to raise a family. So thank you again for having me, and look forward to taking any questions.
Thank you.
All right,
My,
thank you. One of the first questions is, are you speaking to Republicans? All voters should care about the investment policy.
Oh my gosh, I will speak to anybody and everybody. And so, yes, I'm absolutely speaking to Republicans. Many of the 96 business leaders who've endorsed me are not Democrats. There are independents, there are Republicans, there are even some folks who told me I'm MAGA, but I know you and I'm going to support you. So I'm willing to talk to anybody. I went to a uh, uh, mobile home retirement community in Apache Junction a couple of months back, and the person who organized the meeting started by telling me that most of the people, most of the members were Republicans, and most of those were MAGA. She did not look happy for me to be there. But at the end of the meeting, she came up to me and said, I'm a retired educator from Wisconsin. And I don't understand why we've politicized education that as much as we have in this state. And you just won my vote. So I'm going to get wherever I can. We know the winning formula in Arizona, and that is we've got to win, of course, Democrats, but we've got to win independents too. And we need to attract moderate Republicans who are just as sick as the rest of us are about the extreme things happening in our state and in our country.
Can you give some examples of how other states are investing that we could do?
Yeah, there's a few things I do differently, but the main one I am focused on is how we allocate the funds. So, conceptually, we are investing money meant for kids and young adults as if it's a retirement fund. And we invest, broadly speaking, in two categories. We invest in bonds and we invest in index funds. And our investment policy requires us to invest no less than 40% in bonds and no more than 60% in the index funds. Now, there's 10 other states, so it varies by state. But generally speaking, they invest as little as 15% to 30% in bonds and as much as 70% to 85% in anything that isn't a bond. And so if we just shift our allocation, continue to invest in bonds and index funds, but just shift from 60-40 to something like 70-30 to 80-20, someplace in those ranges, it can have a huge impact. Now, there's other things those states do too, but the main thing I'm focused on is let's just make this allocation shift because that's a very powerful tool, and we should be doing that. I'm happy to get into more detail if people want, but it's probably as much as most non-nerds like myself want to know. Actually, I'm a
Okay.
nerd. Sorry, most non-nerds not like myself.
How will you deal with the extremist Arizona Republican legislators?
Yeah, I think this is a great question, and there are some. But there are also some what people might consider traditional Republicans, and there are still McCain Republicans out there. And I've had some of them actually reach out to me because they do not support Elijah Norton. And so, if you think about the things I'm campaigning on, using this investment fund, investing the endowment fund wisely, growing our economy and eliminating waste. These are issues that should um, attract Republicans, and I know that there are at least enough moderate Republicans out there to get behind something like this, and I'd be more than happy for them to get all the credit. The important thing is that we manage our money wisely. It doesn't matter to me who gets the credit for doing this. So that's my approach. I'm going to work with them individually, one on one, and I can be relentless. So I'll just keep working it until we get it done.
Do you need legislative approval to change the investment allocation?
That is a yes. Yes, we will need to get the legislature and the governor on board. And so we'll keep working on it. But like I said, these are fiscally responsible ideas. And I do believe there's enough people to get behind this. And I do know that I can convince the business community to get behind it, and that will have an impact as well.
Okay, there's a question and an answer in the chat, but I'll ask it anyhow. What role does the treasurer play in ESA reimbursements?
Yes. I don't know. I don't see the answer that they have in there, but what I'll tell you is the treasurer and the superintendent of public instruction are administrators of the account. And what happens today, the accounts, and what happens today is Tom Horn reviews the expenses and he approves them and he tells the treasurer to send a check to the recipients. And of course, his policy is that if you submit an expense less than $2,000, he approves it with the idea that he might audit it later. This is the loophole that I was talking about. And the treasurer sees the information and can certainly do more than just send a check. And that's what I intend to do.
That's the end of the questions in chat. Thank you.
Well, thank you again for having me. And uh, like I said in November, remember to picnic.
Thank you so much for taking time to
Okay.
speak to us tonight. Again, I must say I'm so excited and inspired by the level of candidates that have stepped up to serve Arizonans. You and Brian are prime examples of that. Data point for all you all out there, it's been over 60 years since a Democrat has been elected to either the office of state mine inspector or state treasurer.
I was
It's time
just
to get these very qualified candidates
I was
elected.
just going to say that, but this is the year. This is the year,
Yes.
but we need your help. So, tell your friends and get them all out there. And sorry, Maggie, I know I shouldn't be talking.
No, you're much more better you than me. Thank you so much for being here and for running.